Customer Commerce Podcast, where technology's fast and biz is a blast.
In life and in business, time is precious. It's why customers stay or leave and why businesses succeed or fail. We're here to give a voice to everything that makes business, whether as a customer or as a CEO, easier and more rewarding. Welcome to the Customer Commerce Podcast. Let's dive in.
Getting ready for the disco. You want to know how far my party goes worldwide? Because my brothers are colorblind.
No, you have to keep going, please.
No.
Okay, well, that's a great intro into episode 17 of the Customer Commerce. Michael and Zai, I'm absolutely keeping that in the intro. I am Jess, your host, and with me is the CEO at Store Connect and also part-time closet rapper, I'm assuming.
I don't know if that was Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch or not. I can't remember.
Oh my gosh, that's very 90s.
It was totally 90s. Name. I'm going to have to find out while we're talking.
This explains so much. Just in the last 60 seconds have explained so much. I can't begin to tell you.
Okay, well, that's David Breyer already peeking the microphone, and he is branding enthusiast. And both you guys are coffee enthusiasts. So I have already asked you once, but I want to know the answer. Have you already had your coffee today?
Coffee number 2, but yes, we're getting there.
And I just had coffee.
Michael,
I just had coffee number 1.
Okay, great. And Michael, I want to hear your rating compared to the US right now. What's the comparison between US and Australian coffee? Is there?
Well, Australia serves coffee and the US serves brown water that has milk with it. But having said that,
Tell us how you really feel.
There are locations where you do get a good coffee in America, but the average is way different. And bad coffee in the US is like just... there is no words to describe how bad it is.
But
generally, if you hunt and look and you are willing to experience anything, which is one of the rules of happiness that I live by, then you can find good coffee and actually do what I did, which at the hotel that I stay at, one of the hotels I stay at over here, I've come here so often that the baristas know me, and I actually went behind the bar and did a whole training session with them on how to produce microfoam. And by doing that, we now know that I can go and say, I'd like a flat white, and I get a flat white. It's about 8 out of 10. So yeah, you can do it. It just takes a little bit of persistence and belief that the true capability of the American can-do attitude will come through in the creation of a passable flat white.
I love that. It's almost like a motto of don't just be satisfied with the environment, do something,
Yeah, create your environment. Yeah. And they really appreciate it. And it's really funny that the difference in coffee, the biggest challenge actually is that a specialty coffee over here tends to be a latte, which is just, espresso with milk and then white foam with no mixing through it, right? And the bubbles are really thick. And then it's up to the person to stir the coffee, right? And that's what mixes it. But then when you show them making microfoam, because I'm a geek. I have a coffee machine at home. I have a bean grinder. I have the whole shebang, right? And
the bean
when
grinder,
you show
by
them
the
how
way,
to make the microfoam, and you can do the latte art and all that sort of stuff, and they taste that, and they go, "Oh, that's what a latte or a flat white's meant to taste like," and it tastes so much different. They go, "Wow, that's amazing."
And the bean grinder, by the way, that's not a device. That's actually a person on the payroll. For clarity,
actually, is a religious artifact. So we sacrifice to the bean grinder and do all of the things that are needed. Yeah, that's right.
Of course. Well, we did Would You Rather questions last time. And to kick us into this episode, I want to give you another Would You Rather coffee edition. Would you rather? Okay. For both of you. Would you rather have unlimited free coffee for life, but it's always slightly too weak, or only be able to drink coffee once every 2 days, but it's your ideal coffee?
Second option, no, hands down.
Yeah.
Second
absolutely.
option, hands down. Hands down.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you be like if you had every second day you had to be
well, you'd probably get more benefit out of it because you'd be peaking on the caffeine.
All right.
Yeah.
I can go a day without coffee. I mean, my wife might disagree, but I can, and I have.
That's called denial.
Yeah, that's right. It's called denial.
You're like, I'm fine. I'll be fine. And then next minute,
I'm not addicted. I don't know what you're talking about. Where's my coffee?
Yeah. And plus, sometimes if you have the right roaster, and if you get beans from Denial, it's really pretty good.
I'm sure. I believe that, of course. Okay, well, I have another would you rather question, but now it's moving into the actual topic of today, which is around holiday season. David, you and I were talking last week about branding specifically, and we're going to go a little bit more into that since Black Friday is coming up, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day, etc. So, would you rather receive a flood of negative reviews for delayed shipments if you're a business owner, or experience a major increase in returns due to inaccurate product descriptions? Which problem would you rather?
I hate this question. This is like two horrible circumstances. This is
You guys are the
horrible.
worst. This is the point of would you rather
It's the worst.
questions.
I would rather the complaints on shipping. For me,
I'd rather have a different discussion.
I mean, the product description one's interesting because you're going to lose a crap ton of money and confidence, but you can fix it. You could fix the shipping too. So yeah, I would rather the complaints for late shipping, because most of the time it's due to circumstances out of your control. You've got the dock worker strike that just happened in the US, that if it hadn't resolved would have resulted in massive problems around America on shipping, and COVID was a shipping thing and this sort of thing. So I'd probably prefer the shipping issue, because they still get the product and they're not returning it. So your product's good. So then you just have to handle that problem in your business, whatever that may be. Maybe update the website and say, due to shipping problems, this might take 2 weeks, not 5 days. The returns, if you're getting a lot of returns, those people that are buying your product may well be the initial leaders, like early buyers. And they're the sort of people that will tell their friends about their product if it was good. If they're returning it because it was bad, you're going to lose a lot of momentum there, and that's quite hard to recover from.
That's a good point. David, do you have any answers? Do you have any?
I agree with everything Michael just said. That's as much as I can contribute to this conversation.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's a second. That's actually a second. The prior time that I agree with Michael wholeheartedly without any reservation was in San Francisco at a dinner that we both enjoyed together.
Oh yeah, well that's true. That was a good dinner.
Food. Great. Well, as we're going to be talking and diving into surviving the holidays as an e-commerce business, as a business owner, I came across a Salesforce article the other day, and Dave and I already kind of briefly spoke about this, but there were really interesting statistics in that I did share on the email marketing side of things. But it is still interesting to know here, because there tends to be this idea that in regards to marketing, email is dead. And, maybe you as a business owner, because the economy is going through a thing, you feel like disheartened that no one's opening your emails and no one's caring about the things that you're selling. Or if you put something on sale, no one's going to open it. And kind of, I guess business owners might feel disparaged in that way. However, according to this statistic one, 64% of consumers are more likely to open emails from brands during the holidays. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day, etc. So my first question, considering that, Michael, say you have a business that has a pretty good looking CRM. It's relatively up to date. They do have a marketing campaign in action, like Black Friday sales. If you were to come in for an hour and have a consultation with this business, what things are you looking at straight away in terms of preparing the website and the back end for the holiday period? And regardless of sales, like to make the business owner feel like, yeah, I really prepared for the sale, in the long term after, what would you do?
I mean, if their CRM's up to date and the website exists, the first thing I'd ask is, have they had any challenges or problems in previous sale periods, and have they addressed those, right? So one of the key things to attain an affluence in something is doing the things that won, not brand new things untried as yet, right? So you want to, while you want to experiment and you want to do new things, you really want to lean into the things that you know that have proven results and created some sort of expansion. And that also means leaning into the things that you know are going to cause you problems, right? So if last Black Friday sale there was an error on the website, or people were complaining that the site was loading slowly, or the checkout button didn't work correctly, or the promo code ran out because you sold too many and you ran out of promo, like allocations of that promo code, they would be the first things that I'd be looking at for an established company. What was it that stopped you from selling more last year at the same time, right? So this is where keeping notes and things is really important around sales. And when you're graphing a statistic, you know, one of my other companies does that, metapulse.com. We help you track statistics. And one of the reasons we use that is whenever we have spikes up or spikes down or unusual events, we put the note in at that time so we can go back and have a look at it a year later when you've totally forgotten. So I would be getting them to go back then. Don't remember, just go back, close your eyes, put yourself back in that date and re-experience all the challenges and problems that you had at that time, and just note them down, and then go through those and figure out, has this been resolved? Is it mitigated? Do we have a solution? Will we experience the same problem again if the same thing happens, right? That's the number one thing I would do. If you don't have anything on that list, then I'd be looking at, well, why? What is it about the website or the communication you need to be in reality with the people that are coming to the website? So around Black Friday, people are going to be expecting your website to mention Black Friday, right? Because otherwise they're like, oh, well, there's no special here, I'll move on. Even if your specials aren't fantastic, even if they're 5% off or whatever, you still need to be in communication with the person landing on that website. And if you're not at the same level of reality as that person, you're not going to get any love from them, because they will think that you're not, you know, up to the present moment. You know, you're not here with them on the Black Friday sale, right? So they're the two things. I would first make sure that nothing happened last year that's going to happen again this year that prevented you from making a sale. And then the basic level is just make sure that you're communicating with the correct reality to the people that are landing on your website. And those two things will go a long way.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, do you think in your experience that many business owners, even though it's talked about all the time within business, do you think many people actually measure their statistics within the business? Like, honestly?
Everyone does, fundamentally, because they have to do their tax return at the end of the year. And if they don't measure their statistics, they're out of business, right? So everyone measures it to a degree.
Sure.
Very few measure it enough. And the reason why you want to start measuring a bit more accurately, and this can even be as simple as a dashboard on your payment terminal, right? Just seeing when the money comes in. Like, that's the basic level of what we're talking about here. Unless you have knowledge about what created a change, you're not in control of it. It's the difference between being the effect of market forces and everything else that's happening, which you have no control over, or being cause over your own future and your own income and your own creation. And having accurate measurements of your company is critical for that. I mean, to give you an idea, Store Connect, we have, I don't know, it's probably close to 120 different statistics that we measure on a weekly basis through the whole company. And we've got them for multiple years back. And I can at any time go, there was this time about 2 years ago when things felt like they were going really well and we did this campaign. I remember that. Let me go have a look. And I'll go back in time on the statistics and I'll find when we did that campaign, because I'll have it in email, or, you know, I'll know about it. And then I can look at the statistics. What happened after that? Did they go up or did they go down? And while correlation does not always mean causation. This is a trap that people get into. They go, well, that happened and that happened, but that doesn't mean that caused that. True. This is true. But if you have enough statistics, the right amount, you can see that same correlation in multiple avenues with multiple data points, then you've got a much higher confidence that actually created that change. And this is where, that really comes into its own and creates a big difference. So yeah, I highly recommend anyone who's out of control in their business, go check out metapulse.com, shameless plug. But in the meantime, just do what I said before. If you're preparing for Black Friday, make sure that you've got the thing and go from there.
Yeah, love that. David, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, a couple things. One, to Mikel's point, in terms of like what's previously won. I just had an example of this just yesterday. It's been a meeting with a client, and what was interesting was there's something that I, David Breyer, I almost take it for granted because it's very second nature to me. That's a blind spot. This is like, I think every company has this to some degree. They'll go, oh, we've done that before. And they kind of take it for granted, or they kind of put it on what I would call autopilot. They don't really intentionally own it and put it in place. But in this meeting, we were having a very good, productive meeting, and I mentioned one thing. I said, had I ever told you about, and I went over this relationship between sales and marketing and branding, and that there's an actual sequence. And it's something I take for granted. It's like it's part of my DNA. And I say it to so many people so often, I figured I said, had I mentioned that before? And they were like, oh, no, you hadn't. And so I now quickly, within 60 seconds, you could feel it in the room. It was palpable what was capable previously of changing people's minds, still right then and there, still resulted. I'm talking to two very seasoned executives. So it didn't matter. That truth still worked. So if, to Mikel's point, if there's something that worked previously, don't make the error of dismissing it as, oh, that was last year's campaign, or that's no longer new. You can always freshen something up, because if there's a core valuable thing there that worked before as far as communication, there may be a new way to spin it, a new way to frame it, a new way to make it relevant. And with all of that said, it's better to learn how to say one thing 1,000 different ways that works than trying to figure out 1,000 different things to say. That in terms of the whole thing there. So that's what I would add to that.
That's a good point. I have worked with clients as well around social media marketing, and I tend to be the one to push them of like, cool, we have this coming up. Like, why don't we do something? And they're kind of like, oh, I don't know. There's a lot of people that feel like they become too annoying. They don't want to push all the time promotion. And it's very easy, I think, if you're helping someone as a consult or as, a separate entity, it's very easy to be like, let's plug this and let's do this. And it feels good because you feel like you're helping this. But when you're the business owner yourself, especially if you're the face of it, or being the face of it will help, what's some advice that you would give to someone? Because all three of us completely agree that, yeah, more out equals more in. And it's not annoying because there's so much out there. But what would your advice be to those business owners that feel like, I feel like I'm always out there. I feel like I'm annoying people, and people are just going to start unfollowing or not wanting to follow my business?
I think David, go.
I was just going to say, I simplify it because I see this happen a lot. I simplify it and I say, balance your asks with your tells. And what I mean by that is, sometimes there's that feeling, I'm talking too much, and I say, well, stop telling so much, stop like delivering a narrative and instead flip it and ask a question. If you balance asks with tells, you will have, and like the greatest salespeople, they have the ability to ask questions, listen a hell of a lot more than they actually talk. They know when to lean in and talk, But if you were to sit back and kind of just sort of measure it all out, you'd see there's a pretty good balance between them telling something, mistaking something, versus asking something. And so it's like, to that point, you can really use that, and just that simple distinction, because sometimes, and it parallels with giving versus taking. I always err on the side of, how do I give more in terms of how do I enrich the individual that I'm communicating to? How do I, or the viewers or the audience, how do we give more? How do we elevate it so that they feel they've really gotten something? Not that I've said something, have they gotten something? That is, like, to me, the most vital thing. If they feel enriched, if they feel empowered, if they feel they have more at the end of that interaction, whether it's 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, a half an hour, as long as I've got that going on, it will succeed.
Love that.
And I think the other thing to bear in mind is that, I mean, here's an example. Not talking, so just from someone like Elon Musk, who has the most number of followers on Twitter out of anyone, like it's 196, 200 million people. Whether you agree with him or not, he's obviously very capable at doing that. He posts on Twitter about 100 times a day, apparently, per him. Now,
Wow.
I'm on Twitter, and I only see probably 2 or 3 posts of his a day, maybe, right? So even though the volume that you're posting, you could be posting 10, 20 times whatever you're doing right now, and the people that follow you, only 2% are going to see any one post anyway. So to get everyone who follows you to see one post of yours per day, you would need to increase your volume of posting by 50 to 100 times just on your current levels, right? So if you take your current levels and multiply it by 100, that would then result in everyone that follows you maybe seeing one post from you a day. So that's a communication on social media, right? Your volumes will never, ever overwhelm your community of followers.
Yeah, that's a good point. A few years ago, I worked for a company when social media was just kind of rising as well. But at the same time, they were experimenting with email marketing. And I think the owners were just big, let's just try everything. It was really cool to experiment because they were so chill with, like, let's just go for it. And
Yeah.
we sent out an email. It was like once a month, and then we upped it to once a week. We ended up upping it once every day, and we got a bunch of unsubscribes because that's a lot of poking, but the sales would go up, and it would fluctuate a lot. But it was very interesting. There was half the staff saying, like, oh, we need to stop this because it's annoying people. I'm getting people saying, stop emailing me so much. But then the sales would still be going up. And I find it, I just think, well, we're all around e-commerce, and whether it's social media, email marketing, promotion, it's all leading to the website so that the person can actually look and purchase the product. And there's another statistic here. It says consumers who purchase products through email specifically are likely to spend 138% more than people who don't receive email offers at all.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move the question a little bit to you again, Michael, and talk about, like, the checkout flow. Because once someone clicks on that website, they're like, okay, cool. The Dyson, for example, which is what I gave last week. I want a Dyson hairdryer. So the minute that I see Black Friday sales, Dyson, email me, I'm clicking that.
Dyson, if you're watching.
Yeah, exactly. And I want you to take me through, like, an ideal checkout flow or advice.
Well,
that
here's
you
the
would
thing,
give.
right?
Yeah.
If your CRM and e-commerce site are integrated, your checkout flow can be like this. If I had Jess in my in our Store Connect system, for example, when I send her an email with a special offer on the hairdryer, I can include in the link, when she clicks it, it lands on the website with all of her details filled in, right? So there's no need for her then to type out her name and her email and her shipping address and all that sort of stuff. It's just there. She can just quickly skim it, verify it, hit next, and put in a credit card and done, right? That's your ideal scene. You want to remove from the checkout flow as much time as possible, right? Another company that does this very well is Shopify, just from the sheer numbers that they've got. Quite often when you land on a shop pay page, your details are already there. That results in sales, So take it from those sorts of companies. Now, if you're not on either of those two platforms, you might still be able to solve this. Find out if your e-commerce package has a direct to cart link or a buy now button link where you can specify the details of the person. Because if you're emailing someone, you've got some details. You might not have all of them, but you've got some. You might have their name, you might have their email address, you may or may not have their physical address, but you might. And when you add that item to cart, it should land directly on the checkout page, the item in the cart with their promo code applied and as many details as you've got. And if you can do that, you've then captured that instant buy, right? It's almost like a one-click checkout, but it's not quite. So you don't have to worry about paying Amazon for their patent. I think that's expired anyway now. But anyway, you can just go through that checkout flow. So I would make it any special that you're offering customers, make it as individual as possible so that they don't waste their time telling you again who they are. Like I hate it when someone sends me an email, blah, blah, blah to log in. And I click the thing and it says, we just sent you an email to confirm that you are who you are. And I'm like, I literally just clicked the email that you sent me to come here. Why are you sending me the email again? If they want to verify me, do it on my phone or something else. But that literally happened a second ago. Do you think if I'm a hacker, between clicking before and clicking now, I don't have access anymore? What's going on here? Stupid shit like that. So just think with making it possible for your customers to get access quickly without having to jump through hoops.
Love that. Love it. Okay, well, on to my last question for the episode. This one's for David, the brand man, the muffin man. So I always call you slogan man, walking slogan, I should say. And I want to put your creative skills to the test. So we're talking about email marketing. We've talked about branding many times as well. But I want to give you 3 different industries, people that are listening might be in possibly, or just to give some examples. And I want you to come up with some ideas, not necessarily slogans, but just ideas that e-commerce businesses could steal and use in their email marketing campaigns to get consumers, customers, clients onto their website. Are you ready?
So you're gonna give me the industry? Is that what you're gonna give me the industry?
Yeah,
okay.
And just because we're looking at Black Friday. Let's just go with Black Friday sales, right? It's a sale. And the first industry is fishing tools and equipment. So what's something?
What tools? What tools?
Fishing.
Fishing tools. Okay, so fishing rods, you mean?
Yeah, or the bait, or I don't really know much about fishing, but I'm sure there's many other.
Well, yeah. They're not usually referred to as fishing tools, like fishing equipment or fishing rods or whatever like that. So, okay, I'm tracking. Okay.
So, email, a fishing rod company is making an email. What's some ideas that you could put into that company of hey, for this type of sale, why don't you do something like XYZ? Any ideas that pop into your mind?
Sure. So for me, I really enjoy busting commonly held myths. So in this particular case, there's always the notion with regard to fishing that either the certain bait or the certain just like the little bits and pieces that will actually attract you the right fish. So I'd love to have something. I would find out what was the right bait or something that attracted fish, and I would say that it's no, not even XYZ, whatever that hottest bait or fish attractor thing is, that will not even hold a candle to what we recently discovered. I would do that kind of contrarian flip I'd kind of immediately position it against something that was considered to be like, oh my God, the most amazing element and component that helps you attract and catch more fish. That basically, that's the way I would kind of flip it. I would do that kind of flip to be that. Not, it's like that. That's so old school. That's so 1999. You know, I'd love it. I would just slay it that way.
What do you think about puns? Like, are you fishing for a discount? Are they old? Are they like out of style now?
I think that's so corny and has been so used so many times that would be, and this is a pun, dead in the water.
Don't let this deal get away from you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, my next one is watches, and I was going to do something around time, but maybe my mind just goes to puns all the time. But what would be something around watches, or the luxury?
I think
watches?
Actually, could I jump in here? One of the things that happens is when people are using the same terminology and the same things, you become desensitized to it. So the first fishing company that came up with "Don't let this deal get away" would have made a mozza, right? It would have resonated and gotten right in. But now everyone's heard that again and again, inside and outside the fishing industry, right? It's become part of the language, and that's sort of like just accepted. So the key thing, and something David always talks about, is differentiate, right? That what you need to do is stand out from the crowd. But that works in language as well, even more so in language than anything else, really. So you need to work out how to communicate what it is you want to do in a way that people aren't currently hearing or listening to or experiencing, so that you're grabbing that little piece of attention. So when you're trying to work out a slogan or a campaign, the first 10 that you write down, you need to sort of think to yourself, have I heard that before? Has anyone said that to me before? Have I experienced that recently? And if any of those answers are yes, you need to throw them out and keep going, right? And it might not even be a pithy campaign. It might just be a contrary opinion, or like I'll give you a great example, Death Water, right? I mean, they created Liquid Death. They came up with a campaign. Everyone thinks that water is healthy for you. So what do? They make a water brand that says it will kill you. And the truth is, too much water will kill you. So they just lent into that, and it's like, okay, that's different. No one's talking about that. And that's how they got so much, expansion and sales. So that's the key thing with these things, is find something that's different and find something that no one's talking about.
I mean, even Dos Equis beer, everyone, whenever beers were promoted, it was always like, guys hanging at the bars, hey, and just kind of like being really guysy with each other. And instead, they created this fictional character, the most interesting man in the world, with the most absurdly ridiculous, utterly ridiculous claims that you were like, I mean, just the sheer bravado that the company had, and that he had, and they presented him in such a way that, with such ridiculous claims, people couldn't wait to hear what was the next absolutely absurd, implication that they were going to make, and somehow they connected it to, but when I drink beer, I drink Dos Equis, and it's just like, it was so hysterical. So it's, to Michael's point, it is differentiating, but it's also what I also refer to as pattern interrupting. It's like, you don't want to say something that's been said so many times before that it's like, it's just dead. It's dead in arrival. It doesn't change anyone's pulse at all.
That's really good food for thought. I mean, yeah, I was going to give you another business, but I guess it's the same thing. It's you have to look at that industry. For example, something like skincare. There's so much out there, so much. So even if you were to use something like ChatGPT, it is going to give you the same shit, really, unless
it will. But I mean, but to that point, there's a wonderful hair technician and hair color stylist who works with out of Toronto, who I've been assisting with branding. It's been so much fun. But one of the things that she has 4 decades of brilliant knowledge and insight. Well, we can't. So if you look at it, we couldn't just come out and say, hey, this is really the stuff that you need to really handle and help you with your curly hair, because everyone else is saying how great. The thing they didn't realize, everyone's coming to the party with their great card. That's for those that are listening, I'm doing air quotes. Their great card. We're great, okay? We're innovative. We are the Uber of. We are the Elon Musk of. We are, it's like everyone's coming to the party with the we're great card out. That isn't going to be as effective as how you're actually different. So with her, doing all kinds of fun things, one of the things is she found that there's a specific thing with regard to what gels do for women's hair. They're actually destructive. So I created this. I helped her. It was the Ungel. Of course, we positioned it against, but the headline for the ad that actually unveiled it was get your get out of gel card. Here's how to get your get out of gel card. Because it is, for anyone that has curly hair and deals with those, it's like being in prison. It's like being in jail. So it's like, this is your get out of jail card. And that worked. It was different. That a little bit of a pun, but it was not like, it was a pun that nobody even approached because it was so far left of center.
That's very clever. There's also a lot of research in that as well. Like, rather than just like, lots of curly hair people. And it's like you said before, it's asking the questions, and that can be with like what do people want to solve. Like, it takes time to actually really understand that. This is a good episode. I'm learning a lot.
But to that point, and I'll say this, I mean, Michael and I have had these conversations a lot. So much of the time, the magic is hiding in plain sight, but it's not being, even to the point where Michael talked about statistics earlier. The gems are hiding in plain sight, but you usually are lacking sufficient other correlating data to go, okay, what caused what? So it's like, it's a relevant fact, just one metric, but like when that's why I always find it humorous talking just to people who are just only handling the financial aspects in the spreadsheets in a company, because they're looking at the end result of many actions that led to that. Or collecting the money was not a point, a causation point. It was a result of multiple things that came before, right? So what are these other things we need to know? So, to this particular point, there's just magic that's oftentimes hiding in plain sight. And one of the ways that I unearth that, just for the listeners, is talk to your people who are on the front lines. Ask them, what are the questions that you are always having to handle? What are the confusions you're always having to correct? What are the misconceptions that you're always having to go, God, and it's like, how come nobody understands that we're there, blah, blah, and it's always there, right? Good, collect those and then start to compare that against what's out in there in the industry. Is anyone else addressing, bringing clarity to that? Can we be the first to bring clarity to those confusions that then enable us to have a position to differentiate and achieve what we need in the marketplace?
Beautiful. The magic is in plain sight when you really look at it. I love it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you to everyone listening. We are going to come back at you again next week. And in the meantime, rock on. Michael, do you want to sing us out with your rap or not? Save that for next one? He's nodding his head. Okay, guys.
I can.
See you later.
Here's beatboxing.
David's got something for us.
No. Oh my god.
Hey.
Bit of beatboxing.
Yeah, I know.
See you,
We need to come up with a Store Connect rap. Just saying.
Just saying.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you had an awesome time, leaving you with ideas on how to improve your business and wow customers. If you'd like to leave a real customer's story, head to the link in our show notes and cuss away. Love the show? Please subscribe and leave a review, because that enables us to help more businesses in building real relationships with customers and grow more rapidly. See you next time.